So in July of 2022, my mom and I went on a trip to Iceland and the Arctic. We went with some friends of mine that we had met, some of them in Antarctica, and then my friend David there in the middle, who's my whiskey drinking buddy and data guy here in Seattle. So we spent the first week in Iceland, and these pictures are Iceland. We stayed in Reykjavik originally for a few days, and then took a bus over to Vik, which is in the southern part of Iceland. Lots and lots of geothermal activity. What we didn't realize, Iceland is actually the hot water in the homes and the electricity is all geothermal. Um, really, really fascinating culture and land in general. So these pictures are actually in more of an inland lake area in Iceland. This our tour bus there. We got stuck in the mud trying to go across a river. We went on a four-wheel driving bus trip one day out to these glaciers, and the bus didn't quite make it across the river. Um, Also spent some time in Reykjavik, the church there, and then this is the view from the top of the church in Reykjavik. Really cool. Lots of bright colored houses. Wendy's trip to Iceland wouldn't be complete without a visit to a distillery. So this is the Amworks distillery where they make Floki whiskey, which is sheep dung smoked. I do not recommend it. Um, our little kind of like a duck amphibian um, car that took us out into the water. Lots and lots of waterfalls. There's so much water activity. Um, Waterfalls pretty much everywhere we looked, and we stopped to All right, let's see. That's our bus being pulled
All
out.
right. Yeah, we do. Where's he taking them?
There we go. That was our bus getting pulled out of being stuck. Uh, we spent an entire day pretty much down this dirt road in Iceland, just outside of Vik. So that's Jane on the left-hand side. We met her on this trip, and then Jan and David and Betsy. Um, Jan and Betsy were two people that I met in Antarctica in 2019, 2020. We saw puffins, lots and lots of puffins. That one was, I didn't take that picture, one of my co-travelers did. After we finished in Iceland, we went over to Oslo, Norway. This is the Oslo Opera House. Just an amazing building. The other picture was the inside of the opera house. Spent a couple of days in Oslo. This is the city hall. This is where the Nobel Peace Prize ceremony takes place every year, or when it, I think, what is it, 4 years? Um, and then this is the Nobel Peace Prize Center where they recognize all of the people who have received the Nobel Peace Prize. There's a park in Oslo that has a lot of sculptures. The sculpture park there that was just very cool. And I think I got some of these pictures out of order, so we'll come back to that. This is also in Oslo in the sculpture park. Um, After Oslo, we caught a charter flight that went up to Svalbard. So Svalbard is an archipelago that is basically between Norway and the North Pole, a group of islands. And so we flew into Longyearbyen to begin with. That sign is marking the seed vault. So this is an international seed vault that is there in Longyearbyen in Svalbard. Svalbard hosts many of the northernmost things in the world. So that's me inside the northernmost pub in the world. Because it's so far north, it also has the northernmost brewery, which unfortunately was closed, so we couldn't go to it. But the pub served the beer, so we were able to have the northernmost beer in the northernmost pub. Snowmobiles, they're outside. That's pretty much the normal means of transportation in Longyearbyen and in Svalbard in general. There's a very famous polar bear, watch for polar bear signs. The polar bear signs mark the safe limits of Longyearbyen. Outside of there, you're not supposed to go unprotected. So from Svalbard, from Longyearbyen, we boarded our boat, which was our home for the next 9 days. No more cell service from there on out. That last picture was a seal on one of the floating ice. So pretty much the next 9 days we're on the boat. We took Zodiacs during the day, so those are the Zodiacs, the inflatable boats, walruses that we saw here. And the Zodiac would either take us to shore or would just take us around to visit. So this picture is absolutely amazing. We actually at some point in time we'll come back to that. As I mentioned, I think I got these out of order. This was our first polar bear sighting. We're so far north, and we were excited to potentially see polar bears, and were really thrilled when we saw the white spot in the distance. And then we saw several more that day where this one came to the shore and visited us, was sniffing us out. We were pretty far away from the shore at this point in time, so this is zoomed in on the camera. So a little skinny, but he was okay. They said he was not in danger of starvation. This is him. He's checking us out.
He's trying to decide if we are dinner or not.
There was so much excitement when we saw them initially because we had heard that there were polar bears, of course, and knew it was a possibility, but weren't sure if we'd actually see one. So um, this is my mom and Betsy and I in the one of the Zodiacs on one of our land adventures. It's David. While we were on board on the boat, and we went to off boat on the Zodiacs a few times a day, but on board we had a little fun. So we all brought our polar themed hats and enjoyed the whiskey and drinking on the boat. This day was truly amazing. The ice and such that we saw was just this is a huge glacier, snakes all the way back up through the mountains. This is what the landings looked like. So when the Zodiac would come to shore, so the Zodiac picked us up from the boat here. We had to climb down the ladder, go into the Zodiac, and then the other picture kind of showed what it looked like on shore. This is the boats lining up outside in the morning to come pick us up. It's our boat in the very far distance. That picture won me a prize in the photo contest on board. It was just all of these pictures, except a couple that were shared from other people, were just taken with my iPhone. Um, so it's quite amazing. That's our boat in the background. That's me and my mom on the Zodiac. We went to a town called Ny-Ålesund, which is north of Longyearbyen. Um, and Ny-Ålesund also boasts of the polar bear city limit sign that you shouldn't go past. The northernmost bust of a statue in the world. Also, lots of northernmost in Ny-Ålesund. Northernmost hotel there in Ny-Ålesund. And then the northernmost museum as well is there. So it's a bit further north even than Longyearbyen, but Ny-Ålesund is a pretty small town and it's mostly research. This one here is a whaling station, so you can't really see the remnants anymore. Oh, sorry, that's two people being chased away by birds. They got too close to the nesting ground and got attacked. Kind of funny. But there's lots of whaling stations here this far north historically. And then we have walruses. So one of our stops. Hear all the clicks from people taking pictures in the background.
Just gotta take a break again.
They were very cool. Just a couple of them swimming in the water. Probably, what, 10, 15 of them there on the shore? just hanging out, chilling. We saw a lot of them swimming as well as in different places when we were on the Zodiacs. They would be off in the distance when we were on the Zodiacs. There they are, showing the tusks. We had protection because there were polar bears pretty much everywhere we went. That when we went to shore, we'd have somebody with a gun guarding, and so they would have the guards on all the different perimeters of where we landed. They'd have people stationed with guns, and we weren't allowed to go past them. So this is our boat. We decided the weather was so good that we were actually able to head to the ice shelf. This is the boat going through the pack ice as we headed toward the North Pole. Look at that. Ice everywhere. Imagine.
Yeah, you can hear it.
Lots of happy tourists. So we went through for pretty much a whole day north of Svalbard.
You can hear it. I love the noise. That crackle pop. Oh, wow, look at that one. See the thunder as it hits the side of the boat.
We went through this kind of ice for about a day. As far as the captain could take the boat into the pack ice heading toward the North Pole. We were about 450 nautical miles from the North Pole by this
Feels
time.
right under it. Ice as far as you can see.
You can hear it. Our boat was an icebreaker, so very equipped to handle this kind of weather. So we were able to get 82 degrees north, so the North Pole would have been 90 degrees. And this is an iceberg off in the distance. When we saw the crew starting to set up on the iceberg, and we realized it was so much excitement in the boat when we realized that we were actually going to get to go there. So they were able to make sure that it was safe, and we were able to go in groups of 20 at a time.
All right, so we were able to actually land on an ice.
Oh, that was quick. Yep. So we were able to land on the iceberg and actually spent not too long, about 10 minutes total, but walking around on the iceberg. It's quite magical. This is the process to load up to get ready to get onto the Zodiac. So that's us lining up. And then that's what it looks like as you can see, the boat's getting ready to pick us up, but this is us going out to get on the Zodiacs. Lots and lots of ice everywhere. Very cool. And this is our little group. So there were 6 of us in our group in Iceland, and then one more joined us in Svalbard, or in Norway, and then on to Svalbard. So there were 7 of us total. And we picked up some new friends along the way. This is a mother and her 2 cubs that we encountered in one of our Zodiac visits to. We weren't able to go ashore for obvious reasons, but we were able to get really close and watch them for over an hour. There's another bear in the distance on the right-hand side, like there's a white blob earlier in the video. It's another female bear, so there were a couple of females in the distance that were sharing the kill. This is a walrus carcass. So that's a mom, and they said the cubs were about 2 years. This is probably 2nd year cubs because they were pretty big. kind of gross if you look at it too closely because it's dead walrus, but we were so close. He said that if they were hungry, then they would have been bothered by the fact that we were there. But since they had food, they didn't seem to care at all. And that's them. I think I got quite a few videos in here of the mama and her cubs because they were just cool. We were laughing at some point in time because the cubs, when they finished eating, they just started playing with the meat. Like all kids play with their food. But so apparently the bears off in the distance that were female, they said that if the male bears wouldn't have been tolerated, the
So
mother
it's
would
time for a
have been
nap.
worried. There's the mama bear. She laid down and went sploosh.
Full belly.
There's baby bear coming to visit. We started getting a little nervous at this point in time because we were in boats just about 20 feet away, but he never got in the water.
He's curious.
He could see us and he could hear us, but and smell us, of course. They have really
He
good
says,
smell.
no, I'm not gonna come see y'all today. The boats are just right there.
So we would go up and put the boats up water from them and then float down, and then the boat would go back up and get on the front of the line again and float by. And I took that picture. The videos were with my iPhone, and then this picture also with my iPhone. And there's the mama just chilling. I got lots of polar bear pictures. They were so cool. We saw about 15 or 16 polar bears all total in the 9 days that we were in Svalbard and around that area. Most of them were pretty far away, so we saw a few that were closer up, but this is by far the closest that we got. There's her just splooching, just relaxing on the beach. So there are lots and lots of bird colonies as well. So this is one of our Zodiac trips that we went out to see the birds. All over the cliffs, especially the time of year that we were there, was just covered. See them all flying through the air here. They said if you came back in another month, these cliffs would be empty. The babies were born on the cliffs and then they dive into the water. So loud. There were lots of places to stop as well in some of the islands that we were able to. So this is a research cabin there, but there are also some trappers' caverns that we were able to go and visit. And then we saw whales. We saw quite a few whales on the trip. This was a fin whale, which they said is the second largest of all the whales. So there you go. Have to find a better video. This is a sad one. This is beluga whale bones on one of the beaches that we stopped at. Used to be a whaling station. It was only just after World War II. It was not that long ago that they used it as a whaling station, and there were hundreds of, or no, like less than 100, but there were a lot of belugas there. One of our last few stops, we were coming around, so we went all the way around Svalbard, headed north from
Do you see our
Longyearbyen,
ship
and then
off
all the
there
way
in the
around.
distance? You hear the birds?
That cliff is covered in birds. And then when we were in Antarctica, we were able to do a polar plunge where they allowed us to go and dive into the Antarctic Ocean.
All right.
Lucky, couples down. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
I made it.
Well done.
You're at capacity, sorry.
I have no problems being
Woo! Yeah. They're very brave.
So in the Arctic, you can't do that and go into the ocean. So they put icebergs and ice and filled the pool up with water so we could do it there. It was great. I did it, both poles. And then this is the end. We're back to Svalbard and then headed back to Oslo and back home.